The Monitor Audio Silver 5i speaker is a special speaker even for the company Monitor Audio. It is a 25-year-old speaker and it is the last speaker of the Silver series that is actually produced and manufactured in England, in the United Kingdom. The production of the Silver series thereafter went overseas, and you can guess yourself where they went to produce the speakers. And I will not only talk about this speaker in this video, I will also talk about the two amplifiers that I have already reviewed before, but I will review them here again in the context of the Monitor Audio Silver 5i, and that is the Atoll IN300 and the Vincent SV237, because these two made me really like this 25-year-old speaker again. The Monitor Audio Silver 5i that you see here, this one here, is my very first speaker that I bought on my so-called audiophile journey, if you want to call it that. I think that's maybe the reason also why I still have it, because it's my first one. You know, there's some sentimental reasons to it. And I started off my audiophile journey, just like many other people, with an AV receiver. And no, it actually did not sound that good. But I only found out that it does not sound that good after I connected it to some proper stereo amplifiers. Stay tuned, it will be interesting. If you are already a subscriber and you have watched some of my videos from before, you may know that I will do my best to describe not only the sound characteristic of any given unit, or in this case speaker, but I will try to do my best to describe the matching components in a sound system. This is why I have two amplifiers here today, because these two different amplifiers with different qualities make the 25-year-old vintage Monitor Audio Silver 5i also sound a bit different and bring out different qualities. For me, these speakers are joyful, lively playing partners for very particular genres of music. And I'm talking about, for example, rock music, especially of that era of the time of the 1990s, but also like pop music, lively pop music of the 1980s or the 1990s. Well, you know the pop music and rock music of the 1980s and 1990s. It needs a lively and a bit forward and even a bit bright presentation to be engaging and to be captivating and to be emotionally triggering. A smile in my face. At least for me, I need this liveliness in this music. Music of these genres with these speakers paired with good amplification, yeah, they'll make you dance and smile. But, and there is a but, these speakers are very picky when it comes to rooms and when it comes to speaker positioning. For example, the room I have here now is 27 square meters big, and the ceiling back there in the front is very high. It's like 5.5 meters high. So for the room here, these are actually a little bit too small. The bass, the sheer volume of bass, it gets a bit lost. In my previous apartment, my room was maybe the same size. It wasn't that much smaller, but the ceiling wasn't that high. So the bass reproduction in that room was good, was spot on. Very fast, tight, punchy. The design of the speaker is an open port design. So at the rear, you have a port for the bass. And yes, speaker placement with these little guys here matters greatly, I have to say. You have to be very careful where you position them. For example, the way I have them positioned right here, I don't know if you can see my back wall, that would not really work. I would need to push them a little bit more back in order for me to have the bass that I want to have in my room here. And a second thing you may have noticed, and I will put the photograph inside is they are built quite low. So for me, a little bit too low for my sitting position, because I always like to have the tweeter kind of on ear level of my sitting position. So what I did is, yeah, I built some solid wood blocks. I painted them black so they're matching, and these speakers are now standing on solid wood blocks, and these solid wood blocks then are standing on some rubber absorbers, so I can actually achieve some absorption from the floor. It is a 2.5 way design, so these two drivers here do not deliver bass and mid-range at the same level, but they're crossed differently in order to maximize the mid-range quality and also to enhance the bass tightness of the speaker. The speaker has a little cabinet inside. Down there is a hole, and you can fill it with sand. And I have read in some comments of some forums that, yeah, actually quite a few people did that, and it does enhance the sound quality of this speaker. I never did that. I never filled them with sand. Maybe I should try it out 25 years later. To present the speakers in the full picture, I still have the front grills of all of them. Let me mount them. So there's some clips, some holes. Put them inside. So this is the way the speaker looks with the front grille mounted. And I actually still own also a center speaker of this series, because my first hi-fi system was more for watching movies. So I built a 3.1 system with an AV receiver. I also owned the subwoofer of exactly this series. I sold that one, unfortunately. Actually, I should have kept it. But yes, this is the grill. This is the way the speaker looks with the grill. Take it off again. This speaker also marks a very interesting transition period for the company Monitor Audio, and therefore even makes it also interesting for some collectors or loyal fans of the company. It marks the transition period where Monitor Audio started to implement C-Cam metal drivers and the Gold Dome tweeters, yet the voicing of the loudspeaker stayed loyal to this energetic and a little bit forward and lively way of the 1990s. And yes, it's a lively little speaker. It's a very fast speaker. I'll talk about that. The tweeter in this loudspeaker uses Monitor Audio's C-Cam technology. C-Cam for ceramic coated aluminium magnesium. And this tweeter gives the loudspeaker a very typical sound signature, famous for Monitor Audio at this time. It has very fast transient responses. The metallic coating should enhance the detailed in the musical presentation. And listening to the Monitor Audio, yeah, I also have to say it leans a little bit to brightness and to the forward sound with this metallic dome tweeter. The speaker uses two 5.5 inch or 14 centimeter, again, C-Cam technology drivers. These are not cheaply produced stamped drivers that are bought somewhere. These drivers are designed and manufactured to enhance the speed of the drivers and to give these drivers lightweight capabilities with strong magnets in the background. And that is a recipe for very fast and tight and punchy bass, which in many genres that I listen to, very fast, tight and punchy bass is very much to an advantage. Detail retrieval is very good, and the stereo imaging, yeah, if the speakers are positioned well in the room, you get a good stereo imaging. Now, but let me also add what the wife of the house says about the speakers, because to be honest, our reviewing sessions, our listening sessions, they always occur with the two of us, and we take notes and we compare our notes, and I actually believe that she has the better hearing than I have. At least she hears very differently than I do. And yeah, Even the wife of the house, who is very critical when it comes to audio auditionings, she likes the sound of the Monitor Audio Silver 5i because she likes the clarity, she likes the details, and she likes the speed at which music is presented. And one very important factor is the so-called wife acceptance factor, the WAF in audio, isn't it? I and my wife, we both very much adore these golden knobs here. They're just beautiful. The weaknesses, if you want me to call them weaknesses, are the speaker can sound a little bit dry, and the airiness and the details of the highs, they do tend to go into the direction of brightness. So if you pair it with the wrong amplifier, yeah, you're gonna have a pretty bright presentation. The whole fullness of the mid-range that you need, for example, in human vocals, in if you like singer-songwriter stuff and people singing, yeah, the fullness and the details in the mid-range is not so much given. And you can hear this a little bit of a metallic coloration of the sound. Now for some musical genres, like the 1980s, this lively pop music, this metallic coloration, I actually think it's a good match. It makes the music very energetic. But for many other genres where you want to have calmness and very refined treble, yeah, this metallic coloration of the treble in this speaker may not be the perfect partner, in particular if you have an amplifier that also tends to be a little bit on the brighter and on the forward side. Which brings me to the next topic, matching these two amplifiers here, the Atoll IN300 and the Vincent SV237, to the Monitor Audio 5i, because I really have to say that these two amplifiers made me like my old vintage speakers again, because they brought out qualities that I didn't even know these old little wooden boxes have. If you have not watched my previous two reviews about these two amplifiers, maybe go and check them out after the video, because it's going to make much more sense what I will say right now for the pairing with the Monitor Audio Silver 5i. So what do these two amplifiers bring to the table for this 25-year-old loudspeakers? The Atoll IN300 is a dual mono design, two powerful toroidal transformers inside, and it is very famous, and I've said it in my review as well, for excellent bass control and a very lively and energetic presentation with very little coloration. It is fairly neutral. And this is exactly what it brings to the Monitor Audio 5i, which is a speaker that has a very lively and exciting voicing. So music of the 1980s, listening with the Atoll IN300 and the Monitor Audio 5i is, yeah, is beautiful. It's so energetic, it's so lively, and it just gets the vibe going. And it perfectly transports this happy vibe of the music of the 1980s. The Vincent SV237, on the other hand, can handle one of the weaknesses of the Monitor Audio 5i quite well, because this speaker is a little bit bright and the details are there, but they're not the most refined, and this metallic coloration that the speaker sometimes has, if you add a tube to the chain, this is almost gone. And what is also enhanced by adding a tube into the chain of the sound is the little bit recessed mid-range of the Monitor Audio Silver 5i. The tube just adds more body to the sound of the mid-range, which is particularly important for human voices or acoustic instruments. So one of the weaknesses that the Monitor Audio Silver 5i has is compensated by the Vincent SV237, which has a tube in its preamp section. So you get this full-bodied mid-range, and it made me able to listen also to other genres apart from rock music and 1980s music. And then the Atoll, on the other hand, as I just mentioned, you know, two lively and energetic partners playing with each other, yeah, that gets the party going. It's very beautiful. So this means we are dealing here with two different principles on how you can tune your audio system. And here's a real tip and trick for any hi-fi setup, because you can either go the way that you are trying to compensate the weakness of one component with the strength of another component in your system in order to find balance. And many people talk about that this is the way you should do it. I don't always fully agree. And this is a living example that it does not always need to be done in that way, because you can also use the strength of one component in your hi-fi system and add another component that has a similar strength. And then you actually make this into one beautiful big strength. So you don't try to find the balance, you actually try to go full power and have fun with this strength. And in the combination of Atoll and Monitor 5i, I would say, to my ears, in the rooms that I have heard, this combination, especially with musical genres like from the 1980s, pop music and rock music, the liveliness was the strength that was beautiful to listen to. And compensating the recessed mid-range of the 5i's with a tube in the chain, yeah, this is the approach to try to achieve balance in a system. And another way to fine-tune the sound of these combinations, of this trio, was with cables. For example, let me emphasize, the lively and a bit bright character of the Monitor Audio, and certainly lively and very well bass-controlled character of the Atoll IN300, it benefited of a cable that presents music in a rather full-bodied way. And for this I used a kind of entry-level cable of audioquest, the Big Sur, because this makes music in the chain a little bit, you know, it gets the full body character out a little bit more. Whereas with the Vincent, with the tube inside, the body is given. So I want to enhance a little bit more the detail retrieval. So I used a cable from wireworld, also kind of entry level, Solstice. That is a little bit more detail revealing and a bit brighter compared to the audioquest. So the pairing, the cables used for this pairing was Atoll audioquest, Monitor Audio 5i, Vincent wireworld, Monitor Audio 5i. And I could fine-tune some qualities, which takes me again to the discussion of how do you want to build a system? Do you want to find the balance, or do you want to work on the strengths? You need to play around. That's the answer, I think. Now, because I am a hi-fi nerd and I do have also other equipment, and I am in the luxurious position to also have much higher priced amplifiers, I also connected the Monitor Audio Silver 5i to Italian-made Audio Analogue Maestro Anniversary. Now this pairing, of course, is a bit unnatural because these are 25-year-old used speakers that you would get for a few $100 somewhere on a used market, and the Audio Analogue Maestro Anniversary is a 10,000 euro amplifier. And yes, you can hear that. It is beautiful. You know, people say with fantastic front electronics, you can bring life to vintage speakers, and I can attest to that. So, of course, a 10,000 euro audio Analogue Maestro Anniversary, that is next level compared to the two amplifiers here. But of course it is. It costs 3 times the money, and it's next level in almost every compartment: treble, mids, highs, bass, reproduction, refinement of the details, refinement of the sound, in every aspect. But I would expect that, because it has a price tag that makes me expect a certain quality. But it's a beautiful example again that, yeah, 25-year-old speakers paired with powerful front electronics is very nice. If you go the other way around, if you have very expensive speakers and you pair them with rather cheap front electronics, I never did that, but I kind of doubt that the result would be exceptional. But it's just guessing, to be honest. Tell me your story. Maybe you tried it. Leave a comment and leave a like and subscribe. So yeah, anybody here on the channel watching this video who also owns the Monitor Audio Silver 5i, tell me about your experiences. Leave a comment, and also leave a comment or tell me about your experiences if you've done something similar. You know, if you have very old speakers, mid-tier level, or almost like entry to mid-tier level, that are quite old, and then you start pairing them with modern proper front electronics, and you just realize, yeah, sound fantastic. The quality in them is still there. Leave a comment, tell me the story. Looking forward to read about that. And I will end this video with the same sentence as in every other video. Don't forget to do the most important thing in this hobby. Enjoy music.